Sup, nerd. Mingalaman, welcome back to SupCast. Here with me, Adam Tung-Ong, also known as Tuna. And I'm here today with another episode of SupCast with our very special guest. I always say that. I know it's it become kind of like in not so genuine, but really all the guests are special. Today we have once again Mr. Ewan. Is it Ewan? Ewan.
Yes.
So Ewan, also known as
Ewan.
That's your
I'm known by many names. So it's very hard to
I like
pinpoint.
that. Ewan, also known as Ewan. I like that. All right. Thanks again so much for joining us here today. And we are going to talk about the biggest thing that's happening here in March of 2022, apart from that thing happening in Ukraine. We're going to talk about The Batman. Yes, the new film by Matt Reeves of the Cape Crusader that's in cinemas right now. I know usually we have like a 2-week kind of a notice before we go into spoiler stuff. So we are going to go into like spoilery stuff here for this episode, but for the beginning, maybe like for the first 10 or 15 minutes, we're going to do it spoiler free. So you would just make sure we don't spoil it. But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. Let's start off with the first, elephant in the room, which is, before we get to the movie, Rob Pattinson as Batman. Ewan, did that work for you?
Yep. Because it's a younger Batman, so I'm totally fine with it. And Robert Pattinson is not a bad actor. I mean, he has acted in a lot of pretty good movies. So yeah, I mean, when he was first cast, I was like, yeah, spoiled rich kid. It's fine.
Exactly.
Fits in the role.
For me, I never had an issue with like when he was casted as well. I was like, obviously I'm not a fan of the Twilight series. I've never seen a single film, but Robert Pattinson himself, he did like great movies, and he's a really good actor. So I had no qualms about it, and that I have a lot of faith in Matt Reeves because of his, Planet of the Apes like movies, especially the last two, where he made it like pretty amazing, kind of like two movies out of the trilogy. So I had high hopes. So that leads to my second question. As a fan of the comics and the Batman movies, did this particular Batman movie live up to your expectations?
To be honest, actually not really. But I'm just happy that it is a mystery detective film, and it's very easy to swallow. It's very easy to follow. So I'm hoping that everyone loves it, so that we can go into more psychological thriller stuff.
Oh God. So usually on podcasts like these, it's fun to have like opposing views, but I have to agree with you as well. I am a big fan of Matt Reeves, like I mentioned before, and Riddler is like one of my top Batman villains as well, like top 5 at least. In the pantheon of like all the great Batman villains. So I was super excited after seeing those awesome trailers and the angle that Matt Reeves was going for, obviously, very obviously inspired by Fincher's movies like Seven and Zodiac for this kind of a serial killer angle for the Riddler. I was totally sold. The trailers were great. The atmosphere, the mood. I was telling my friends as well. I was cautiously optimistic about this film. I went in still being very cautious. I really, really wanted to love this film. I did not. I'm not saying it's a bad film. I'm saying like I really liked it. I liked it, but I did not love it. That was my issue. I'm like, there were some things we're watching it. I think we can talk about this where it's not spoilery, but I felt watching the movie where the films that it was inspired by felt like they're far superior films And the comics, some of the comics that it was like it takes its inspiration from as well, were far superior Batman stories. And it just ended up being like, kind of like a little montage of what could be great. And that was what I came out with. I'm like, I saw it last night. I didn't want to like, grade it straight away as well, but I was like sitting down, thinking back, reading up again about like how do I really feel about it? And that's what I came to, the conclusion that I came to. Before we again like delve into the spoilers, what are the maybe you can share with us, Ewan, like the good parts and the kind of like the stuff that you didn't like.
Okay, the good parts. Alfred.
Oh, interesting.
I love the Alfred parts. I really liked the fact that we didn't have a Batman that just beats up people. We have a Batman who uses his brain, like the Michael Keaton Batman at some point. And
wait, hold on. Keaton used his brain? I'm trying to recall.
Yeah, in the first movie, he actually sat down at the computer, did some homework and stuff.
Like the animated series type.
Yeah, no, because like he was trying to find out who the Joker was, what his background was. So that's the only the detective aspect.
The detective aspect,
of the Keaton Batman. Yeah, after that it's just blowing people up. And
I just remember him like, throwing down that vase or something like that, and then go like, let's get nuts. That's the iconic line.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Okay, that's interesting. And then what else?
What else? I really like how they brought in the whole system's corrupt aspect. A slight spoiler.
Slightly spoiler.
But I think you can guess from the trailer. Well. I can guess it from the trailers, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much what I
liked.
The good parts.
Okay.
Yeah.
What irked you? What were the kind of the gripes you had?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Some Catwoman scenes.
Interesting. Okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
What was the main one, the major one for you?
The first introduction, when she just came in and stuff, it just felt a bit awkward. And certain aspects, I felt it. Battinson and whatever her name is had some sort of chemistry, but there are some scenes where it still felt a bit awkward. Or
wait, what you talking about? Catwoman, or are you talking about like Gordon?
Catwoman and Batman.
Oh, Catwoman. Okay, Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah,
like Lenny Kravitz's daughter.
Yeah, Zoe Kravitz. Yeah. Oh, I really like Gordon though.
You like Gordon? Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright is Gordon. Yeah, it worked for me as well. For me, the things that worked was that, again, I have to agree with you for the detective part, where this is the first time on the big screen that we get to see a Batman that was actually trying to solve a crime and being a detective, not just like, punching or shooting things with like people and people. So that worked for me. The overall tone, again, I loved Fincher's movies like Seven, Zodiac. Riddler was the perfect Batman villain to be this kind of deranged like serial killer. The tone worked. What else worked for me? The side characters like Penguin, they worked for me as well. But the things that didn't work was more like how stretched out the movie is. It's like almost 3 hours, where I felt that it didn't need to be, and the overarching mystery. I mean, the mystery was great. The way they presented it, like I couldn't quite guess where they're going with, but the payoff was not satisfying. This is where I'll stop like before we get into like spoiler stuff. So okay, last part before we get into the spoiler talk. How much would you grade it out of like 10? We're gonna do like different for this episode scores first. Like how much would you grade it out of 10?
6.5.
Wow. That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. It depends in comparison to what movie.
Came before
Because
or
I would actually,
other
I
Batman
think if I
movies?
would,
Like if you compare it to like other
aside from
Batman
George
movies.
Clooney, uh,
What? Particularly George Clooney. I know it's all
I don't know,
Schumacher's
I think I
fault.
see it as a 6.5. 6.5. Yeah.
6.5. How much would you go like
Yeah.
for the Dark Knight?
6.
What? Wait, which one's your
Yeah, 6.
favorite Batman movie? I gotta know.
Okay. It's quite difficult. The first Batman movie, of course, followed
89.
by the second Dark Knight movie, the one with Joker.
Wait, so the Dark Knight you give it a 6.5 as well, or wait? How much are you giving like the joke the Heath Ledger Joker Dark Knight? If you have
Heath
to
Ledger
score.
Joker, I'll probably give him a 7.
Okay, 7.
For the
What?
most part, yeah. Yeah.
Damn, you're not generous at all with your scores. Wait, how
Nah,
much would you
man.
give it for the Keaton one, 1989, like the Michael Keaton and
I'll give it an 8.
okay.
The first one, I'll give it an 8. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, that's interesting. I was actually okay for me the score for the Batman by Matt Reeves. I'm looking around like 8 for being like generous, but I don't know. It might change. I'm actually leaning more towards 7.5 now. Like thinking back and like trying to figure out like the scenes that I like or what worked, and some scenes where I'm like I wasn't sure when I was in the cinema watching. It was like I don't know how I feel about this. Those kind of things,
Yeah.
So looking back, yeah, I might be leaning more towards like 7.5, but
Mm.
I still think. I mean, for me there's not like a perfect Batman movie. Maybe as a fan of the comics, I've seen way too many like really good Batman stories being told in the comics that the big screen adaptations
Mm.
cannot reach those heights. So yeah, okay. So you give it a wait.
Yeah, but I have to say that the soundtrack's really good though.
I have an issue with that as
In
well.
contrast.
I have an issue with the soundtrack. Is it a spoiler if we talk about the soundtrack? No, right? Should I?
It depends on what you're talking about. The soundtrack itself, aside from how it incorporates into the movie, just the music itself, I really liked it
Okay,
on its own.
we'll keep it for
Yeah.
the spoiler part. Okay, so for those who haven't seen okay, we might be harsh, but we might sound quite harsh for this movie, but it's still for me personally, it's still a very good like superhero movie, a very good Batman movie that we've never seen before as well. And that the detective aspect, the whole serial killer, him trying to solve the crime, acting, cinematography was great. I love the cinematography here, right? So please do go and watch it. It's definitely worth catching on the big screen. Don't wait until it's like released on HBO Max, blah 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 blah. Those guys. It does deserve to be seen on the big screen. So please go ahead and watch that. But now, spoiler warning, we're gonna dive straight into that thing. What's a big can we talk about spoilers?
Okay, before we go into spoiler territory,
Okay.
I have to say that I was expected to be surprised by the whole plot. But from the start, like I kind of sort of knew what was going to happen slowly, eventually. So
You weren't surprised.
saying that, I am free to talk about spoilers.
Okay, let's go. Spoiler
Yeah.
warning once again. Last warning. We're gonna talk about spoilers now. All right, go ahead, Ewan. First spoiler.
Okay. I think everything we're going to discuss is going to be a spoiler. So
yeah. First thing, top of your head that you really want to talk about. Spoilerish thing. Go for it.
the Riddler. I thought that he could have been way better. I still like him, but I feel like his riddles could have been a bit more challenging, a bit more complex. Like there's one about the flying rat. I mean, like
Rata
when you say that, like,
Elada.
yeah, which it's actually a good marketing thing because you Reddit or whatever.com, right? It brings you the
Dude, that was
Riddler
crazy.
thing. Yeah, it's wow, it's amazing.
That website
Yeah,
was
so
crazy.
I'm just I think everyone should actually visit the website, play a bit of the game, you know. It's almost like story-based games. Yeah, but anyway, because once they mentioned the rat with wings, right? I'm like, oh, it's obviously going to return back to Batman. They chase after the penguin. They chase after Falcone. With the rat. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. For me, the biggest thing it's not that entertaining, but I gotta agree with you on this whole being wanted to be surprised because again, you're the inspirations that Matt Reeves was talking about was like Seven and Zodiac, where Fincher, especially Seven, the bad guy, Kevin Spacey, God rest his career, but he was amazing, and it was like this serial killer who was way smarter than the protagonist, right? The antagonist was way smarter than the protagonist, and the protagonists were always like 2 or 3 steps behind, and that's how it made like super cool. Riddler was starting out to be, I mean, they presented him to be like that, but the reveal where he turned out to be this like fringe right-winged extremist kind of a guy with about like 500 followers. I was let down, and his final, the big plan of what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I can't put my finger on it, but it just felt like, especially for a long movie like this, like dragged out with this entire mystery, it just didn't feel like it lived up to its, not even expectations of the movie, but within the movie itself, what it was building up to. I did not like the whole drag him into the light part. It was just like kind of like, ooh, but, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Data was great initially, but once you get to that scene where he's in Arkham Asylum talking to Batman, it was supposed to be that kind of that Dark Knight Joker and Batman scene.
Yeah.
The ideologies, the mental, battle's gonna go with the dialogue, but it did not. He just started laughing and he started crying, going crazy. You're like, no, it's not supposed to be like that. I was like,
okay, so when it came to that scene, right? I was like, okay, that's he's known for that. He does that in every movie.
No,
like what's the one with the oil in the
there will be blood.
The West.
No, but that was great.
Fucking good movie.
He was freaking great in there.
And as long as I have fish, I will bash you now. Get out of here! Get out of here, guys!
Following that, I think there was a Cowboys vs Aliens. Same character. He's just a guy who's going to get bitch slapped by the main character.
Daniel Craig one, right? Cowboy was there. I mean, he was great in Prisoners as well. He was actually innocent in Prisoners. I think we wanted the villain to be cool, right? Like a badass, where when they also did that, like, again, we are talking about spoilers. So we got a little like, bait and switch where it looked like he knew who like the Batman, like Bruce Wayne was, right? Bruce. I was like, okay, wait. The first time he did it, I was like, okay, he's going somewhere with this. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Second time he did it, I was like, it's getting weird. This is not turning out to be what I thought it would be. And I was eventually disappointed. In the comics, especially Hush, Riddler found out because he was a smart guy, right?
Yeah.
He found out who the Batman was. Like, it's actually Bruce Wayne. So he found that out, and he played the Batman and all the rogues gallery into his own hand. Like he was the mastermind. so they were playing with that, and they did the bait and switch. I'm still okay with the bait and switch, but overall, that made this interpretation of the Riddler to be just like weirdo. He's not that smart. He just figured out something. It's not even he figured it out. He was just like he knew a secret, and then he did some riddles with it.
Yeah.
It's just like
which kind of made me feel a bit disappointed because the Riddler is a good detective. Actually,
he is a smart guy in the comics, right? He is actually like intellectually, he's sort of like equivalent to the Batman, who's like the world's greatest detective.
Yeah.
And they always spar like mentally with the plans. Like even one of the comics that this film does reference at the end, like, 0 Year, where Riddler took over the whole of Gotham, which we'll talk about it in a bit. It's just like overall, for me, the villain has to be that badass. And Dano, even though he's a great actor and it was a great angle that they're going for, it did not deliver. And that probably ultimately that was the main downfall for me to not be able to love this movie.
Yeah, I felt like he wasn't a big enough challenge for Batman.
Yeah, the all the riddles and the reveals were like, but okay, let's try not to be too negative, especially in these days of like, that thing happening in Europe. What I do like is like how Reeves set up some of the set pieces with like, that bomb at the funeral with Coulson. Those were pretty good though. Like the sort of like intensity, the mystery and the intensity of the whole thing was just like it worked. Reeves is a really good director. I love the way he does things. And you mentioned in the non-spoilery section that you didn't like how Batman was presented. I was okay because we've seen this in like Nolan's Batman, the first Batman Begins, where Bruce, when he turned into Batman the first time, he started taking out these crooks and at the port with the containers where you don't see him, right? They were scared. I like that when the first time we saw Batman was like Reeves just shot a freaking dark alley or corner where it just slowly zooms in with the music intensifying, where like I like that idea where, because Batman himself, he was like doing a monologue saying like, that signal in the sky is not just a call for him, it's more like a warning. And that scared the shit out of like the criminals. It worked for me.
That's why we had a couple of scenes, right? We had the criminals doing some bad stuff, and then they saw the signal,
light,
and then they were like, look at dark alleys, like, oh god.
And that was kind of creepy. I like the sound design and everything that they did. Even the Riddler, some of the stuff that he did, the sound design, the way it was directed was like quite masterful. I really do like it. It was creepy. Some parts I was just like, I was kind of like freaked out as well. I liked it. Okay, back to Pattinson, like, him as Bats. How did you feel about it? Like overall, we're talking about spoilers as well, with like, how he reacted at certain scenes and all.
I feel like Robert Pattinson as Batman was pretty good because, like I said earlier, it's second year as Batman, so that's fine. And he presented the whole Bruce Wayne Batman thing going on pretty well, because this is before Bruce Wayne even became a playboy.
True.
That.
I mean,
so it's still this angst-ridden young man.
It was like about 90% of the movie was just Batman. You get about like 10% of Bruce Wayne. You don't see Bruce Wayne much at all, right? And then I don't have a big issue with him. Maybe like minor gripes would be more like he doesn't like mask his voice and chin, where I was telling my wife when we were watching, like, it's way too obvious Like, because the thing is, right? If Bruce Wayne in this particular interpretation, he was a recluse, right? He doesn't go out. He's not partying. He's not playboy. So most people don't know how he looks like. But he actually goes back to the same villains and the bodyguards, both as first as Batman and then as Bruce Wayne. So I just wanted to have like a guy, like a running joke, one of the goons who are like,
say, wait a minute.
That chin looks familiar. I just wanted him to say one guy is like, that chin looks familiar because it's like a very prominent chin, especially if you've seen
the whole thing about Bruce Wayne and like Batman's voice. I feel like someone needs to tell Batman, why don't you just try a British accent? So people can't make the connection, right? It's like, wait, I think Bruce Wayne is Batman. No, man, Batman is British.
British?
Sorry, accent.
That's great. I was like, I say, Mr. Joker, could you please kindly put down your weapons? I can't do a British accent, but yeah, really kind of funny. I like it. I like that.
Awesome,
or German. He's got a German accent. But yeah, so I did not have that much of a thing with like Pattinson's, even though they tackled Matt Reeves and Battinson tackled something that was sort of like mentioned over like recent years in the comics and also like the fandom, talking about how Batman, I wrote this down because I wanted to talk about this. It's like Batman have like an opposite effect in Gotham. Instead of like inspiring about safety and hope and all that, he kind of inspired these crazies, these super villains that come out of the woodwork and go like, ha, because that was what it was for the Joker and the Riddler and those kind of guys who were like, okay, there's that guy dressed as a bat beating up criminals. I'm going to challenge him. And they rose to the challenge. I like how they actually, tackled that question, but maybe not super directly, but hopefully they can explore that more in the film. Yeah. I really do like that.
Yeah, because I think they actually sort of did somewhat explore it because there's a scene all the way at the end where Ben was asking, who are you? Then one of the gunners was like, "Oh, I'm vengeance."
Yeah. So
that's
one of the Riddler gunners, right?
He's having this kind of negative effects.
That
I feel like it's a good arc for Batman because at the end he's like, okay, I realize what kind of effect. And it's not exactly the effect that I want. So now I'm just gonna stand for a symbol of.
You have to figure out a different way to to inspire hope or at least bring like a positive change. Because what he's trying to do is like, rubbing it up like negatively for the whole of Gotham. So, right. Next thing that I wanted to talk about is that let's talk about the villains. We were mentioning about like how Dato's Riddler kind of like fell short, even though initially it felt like it was going great. What about the other guys involved? How did you feel about them?
Okay, firstly, I love Penguin. He's pretty fucking good.
Nobody could recognize
really
like freaking Colin Farrell.
He's such a good actor.
He's a great actor.
With all the prosthetics and everything, it really felt like the Penguin from the comics. The Penguin from the comics is not like some wacko, who loves penguins. He just happens to be a guy who looks like a penguin.
He looks weird.
Who just wants to do his bad guy stuff and operate his iceberg lounge.
He's a smart mobster.
man.
Oh, sorry?
Yeah. Gotta support F&B. The dying trade.
Support FMP at the bars, man. Come on. Can't let them die. How did you feel about Falcone?
Hush. Oh, Falcone. I'm like, my boss. That's it. He's just there, honestly. I mean, like, I wish there was more of a Moroni Falcone gang war going on, but
no.
I think that was coming in the past.
Yeah, that was in the Long Halloween, right? So they
Yeah.
took the inspiration because they don't have Two-Face or Harvey Dent in there. It's Long Halloween is sort of like a Harvey Dent origin story as well. Falcone, to be honest, right? I was never a big fan of Falcone in the comics. He's there, but I prefer him to be sort of like a background, a flashback character rather than like the main boss, because it's never that interesting for me. And I love John Turturro as an actor, but unfortunately, he's sort of like, he was casted in the films that I've seen him with are more like comedic ones, like Big Lebowski and all that.
Yeah.
The shitty Transformer movies.
Transformers.
Sorry?
Transformers, yeah.
Transformers, yeah. Like he's that kind of funny guy. I've always seen him as like a comedic actor, and unfortunately, I can't get over the fact that he's like the big crime boss. He was never menacing, even when he was choking out like Selena. I just felt that like, and they do focus a lot on him. Like he's, if it were just like mainly on Riddler being the big baddie and trying to figure it out, cool. But with Falcone taking about like almost like 35% of like, the big bad, like, the space in the movie, that didn't work for me, man. Like Penguin, I agree with you. It totally worked. And I mean, I'm sure you've read it already as well. They're doing a spin-off series on the Penguin. Colin Farrell hasn't signed it yet, but like, yeah, but that'll be kind of cool. I was never a big fan of Gotham, the series with the skinny penguin. But for this one, I'll watch. I'll definitely watch. After this, the villains, what about the side characters? How did you feel about the side characters? There's only like
I don't really know how to feel about Catwoman, so I'm just gonna gloss over her. She's okay. It's just okay. And Commissioner, not even Commissioner yet. Gordon was fucking good.
Jeffrey Wright.
I love Alfred. Great. Yeah.
Alfred, I felt that he didn't have much. Like, he was halfway exploded upon. It was just like, I mean, I like the fact that at the beginning they planted an idea about, because in the comic, especially, I felt a lot more about Alfred's and Bruce's relationship in Scott Snyder's and Greg Capullo's run. That was like great, where Alfred was the dad. That's what we learned from the run, where near the end as well, right? The final, like, the Joker's endgame arc. Alfred was trying so hard to protect his son. That's basically right. He was crying on his knees, begging Bruce not to be Batman again because he got back the son that he lost. That really hit me when I was reading the comics. So when they hinted it at the beginning, where, randomly Pattinson was like, "You're not my father." I was like, oh, they're trying to do something here. Didn't build that much, the hospital scenes and all that holding hands. It was like, it wasn't that earned. But I mean, Andy Serkis was it was great as Alfred. That was fun. Catwoman, I was okay. She was she had the attitude, and I think there was chemistry between the two of them. Even though some of the kisses and all that, those kiss scenes were not earned, but the first ever kiss that they had, I felt it was not supposed to be a romantic kiss. It was supposed to be a manipulative kiss that Selena did to actually win over Batman. And that turned out to be the spark. And it kind of worked. She was trying to be manipulative, and that kind of worked on Bruce, and he felt something. And the way it played out, I don't have much of an issue with it. So overall, I think the side characters, actors, I think they did a good job. I don't have like a big, issue apart from Unfortunately,
Mm.
Turturro's portrayal as Falcone, I didn't like.
Mm.
What about the length of the film? How do you feel about it?
I feel okay. Honestly, I feel like the duration is good, but the pacing could have been way better. There's some parts where they could have just shortened it, add more time for Alfred and Bruce to like
Right.
give us a connection there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
we'll actually feel something when Alfred gets blown up.
right. Okay. I mean, I'm okay with longer movies as well. It's just that again, I felt. I think it goes back to Falcone being like I'm biased, right? So everybody's biased because I'm biased against Falcone as a character, not just John Turturro's like portrayal. Whenever we go back to about his like him being a mastermind and all that, I just lose it. Like, oh god, let's just get back to Riddler's plan, and like let's find out because I'm more interested into that. Like, but again, that also ended up being not very fulfilling. Yeah, overall, length is okay. It's just more like how they manage the time, like focus on which characters. That's where I would want to see. Next up would be mood. Like, how do you find the mood of the whole film? A lot of people are talking about this like the darkest Dark Knight ever.
Yeah, I was hoping that it'll be darker than it is. Because right now it's just noir, light.
Oh God, I agree with you again with that on this, man. Like I was really expecting this to be like them, but then again, I realized that it is PG-13. I love how they dropped the F-bomb though. Did you notice that? The commissioner.
Not really.
The commissioner at the beginning. He was like, it's gonna be a long fucking Halloween. There's like one F-bomb. Like, oh, okay. So they're just gonna use it there straight away. Yeah, because PG-13 allows you to use one F-bomb. So they did it at near the beginning when they were talking. I think it was the first crime scene when Batman showed up. The mayor's crime scene. It was like around the commissioner guy. I forgot his name. Guy with the glasses. It was just like, yeah, it's gonna be one fucking long Halloween or something like that. I'm like, that's where they used it. I'm okay with the vibe, like the mood. It should be dark. It's okay. A little bit of levity should be would have been nice, but I like the chemistry between like Gordon and Batman.
Yeah,
Jeffrey Wright and Pattinson.
Really
that it felt like a buddy thing here and there. There was some like kind of like situational humor thing there. Like it was fun. I wish I'd seen more of that, but yeah. This is a little side note. How did you feel about the wingsuit scene?
When he used the wingsuit, I was like, oh. Then after that, when he fucked up his wingsuit, I was like, I guess it's understandable. It's just some hobo who had to do it fast or something.
I wasn't sold on it though. They made it like such an epic scene, but call me shallow. A wingsuit does not look cool. A wingsuit,
it's
even like
the
super extreme, like hardcore guys who do it like really amazing, like freaking like jumps. The wingsuit does not look cool. Batman, a lot of people were making fun of him with the fucking like ears already, but the wingsuit when it came down, I was like, especially the way they were building up the music, and then he escaped.
Yeah,
and then his face was like. I'm sorry, that didn't work. I was like, you have a suspension of belief, but like that there's a limit, and that just made me just like, that just looks silly. I can't like it didn't work for me, man.
I was thinking like for a billionaire, can't he just build a better wingsuit?
I mean, he's still trying. Right? He's still trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't have like that many gadgets yet. Again, another sidetrack. You notice like at the end he used something like a venom thing. That adrenaline punch. I was like, something. Could they be going into like Batman Venom?
Bane. maybe.
No, but Bane,
Maybe.
but there's a graphic novel on him being like getting addicted to this venom part as well. There was like
Yeah.
Dennis O'Neill or something like that. Yeah. Okay. Back to what we're talking about. Some other things. Score. You say you liked. Okay. You like the overall score and the way the sound design and all that. I totally
I
agree.
like the soundtrack on its own, but when it comes to the implementation in the movie, it's okay. It just I felt that they could have rearranged it a bit better to heighten more of the mood, because some parts just felt a bit plain.
Right.
But I did like how they tried to use that Nirvana song,
Oh yeah.
something in the
Something
way.
in the way. That was great.
Yeah.
I love that. I had a slight issue with the main score, like boom, boom, right.
Mm.
I'm not even a big Star Wars fan, but that sounds like the Imperial March. So every time I hear it, like especially with that scene where Penguin's car is like flipped and he walked,
Yeah.
freaking cool like cinematography shot with the music, and then he just leans over, doom, doom. I was like, dun, 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 dun. It's like the Imperial March, like. No, I don't want that in my head when I'm watching Batman. So that
I
kind
felt
of
it scene could have been more menacing. I actually almost laughed when he finally reached the car. Then he bent down.
it was kind of funny,
That
right?
part
When
was a bit
like,
comical. Yeah. What's up, bro?
like, hey man.
Yeah.
Oh God. And also the part about the Batmobile, the reveal where
Mm.
initially I was actually uh engrossed while watching at the cinema because of the sound design, right? You start to feel the rumble in your chest and like the bass. I'm like, oh, this is cool. But thinking back without that effect, it's just weird. he got shot, he crawled there. Penguin's standing there for about like 3 minutes going like,
What about?
the fuck's that? It's a car. Never seen a car before? It's like a freaking muscle car. What are you talking about? And then just like, and then Penguin left. Some
Maybe
cringe
Penguin was
parts. There are some
concerned,
cringe parts. I gotta say, like,
Maybe he was concerned, like, why is this muscle car taking so long just to start up?
so long as well, right? It didn't feel cool to me. For me, it was like Batman gotta be cool, right? This did not feel cool. Again, I think it comes back to the point of being a Batman fan, not just on the big screen or even the small screen, because of the comics. We were, 2008 was The Dark Knight. Before that, we had classics like I think Hush, Long Halloween, all that stuff. The Dark Knight Returns. Those are like, and then what else? What are the other big Batman like stories before that? I mean, Arkham Asylum, we had that as well. After 2008, where we were blown away by The Dark Knight, the interpretation by Christopher Nolan, we had a lot more. Really, it's not just those funny books anymore. It's like, graphic novels where it's cinematic, thematically deep. And it's just like, especially, I got to go back to Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run, like, the way they tackle the Batman mythos were amazing. Court of Owls, again, something that we were expecting. We didn't get to see anything, but like, the stories, and most recently Sean Murphy's take on the mythos where he did the White Knight, Curse of the White Knight. The Curse of the White Knight kind of like was a similar story with the Batman, like this Matt Reeves, the Batman, because they talk about the Waynes, the legacy and their where they came from, which was kind of like based on lies as well and all that stuff. So I think as a comic fan, like both you and I actually, as comic fans, we were kind of spoiled with these great Batman stories that like this
Yeah.
movie did not live up to our expectations. If we've never read these kind of stories, I think this would have been like the best Batman story, the best Batman movie ever. Even in the video games like Arkham City, Arkham, like Arkham Asylum, Arkham Knight is like kind of but the stories that are being told, the Batman stories being told in those different mediums, I think we were spoiled. that was like a main issue. I don't know, man. I actually want to talk to those to some Batman fans, but those who don't read the comics, but more like the movie and animation or TV series fans. I want to see their what their reaction is, because for me, it just ended up being like, could have been. Even though we went in with like cautiously optimistic, but kind of like middle. I wouldn't say low expectations, like middle expectations. Oh man. Okay, so what do you think? What's going to happen in the future? The movie's doing quite well critically. Money wise, I don't know yet because it's like the first weekend, right? That's being released, but I think it's going to do well. And not confirmed, but they're planning it to be a trilogy and two offshoots, right? Where it's going to be the Penguin series, something based on Gotham PD, like Gotham Central, like the Greg Rucker series as well.
Yeah.
Or there's also rumors about the Arkham, like based on Arkham Asylum itself, a series.
Oh, okay, that'll be cool.
But what do you think the trilogy will lead to? Because at the end of the film, we see something similar to Zero Year, where Riddler flooded the entire like Gotham, and we have like different crime bosses controlling different areas. Kind of similar to the 1999 No Man's Land as well, but that was an earthquake. It's not anybody else's doing.
Yeah,
but it was like all segregated into like zones and areas controlled by these mob bosses. What do you think the sequels will take us?
If we're following in that direction, then obviously we're gonna get Joker Riddler war.
Oh wait, hold on. Another sidestep. Let's talk about that. Like the prisoner talking to the Riddler.
Yeah, I mean it's so obvious who it is. It's so obvious who it is.
Do you know who it was as well, the actor? I had to Google.
Eternals guy.
Barry Keegan or Kean. He's Irish, I believe. Eternals, he wasn't that great, but have you seen him in the film called Killing of the Sacred Deer? Like this, like, oh dude, it's a psychological thriller that really, really fucked me up. It's not just the story, but the filmmaking, from subtle audio cues to the sound design and the way the shots were created, from the angles to the slow zoom ins and everything, perspectives. Dude, that film haunted me. If you have a chance, please go watch it. He was the main guy in there. Barry Keoghan. Killing of the Sacred Deer. Colin Farrell is in there as well. So please have a watch it. So him being the Joker under a lot of fucking like prosthetics, right? You can't even recognize him. You think that's gonna be the Joker? What do you feel about that? It's just too, I don't know, character.
I feel it's a bit too obvious,
right?
Because I feel like the makeup is based on who the Joker was based on. That I can't remember the name of that movie, but it's all black and white movie.
The Man Who Laughs.
Yes,
The Man Who Laughs. Yeah, that's it's like the classic Joker look, right? Well, not classic, but like the 80s
semi-classic.
Yeah, that kind of big hair, big nose.
At the same time, I'm also hoping that they'll bring in Hush, because they kind of alluded.
I think that was just I don't think it's a proper hint. It's just more like a little trivia that they usually like hush money. I don't know. Hush might be too deep of a cut, man. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not sure because maybe Tommy Elliot might appear. Who knows?
Tommy Elliot. Yeah. Again, like it's such a deep cut, right? So I don't know. Court of Owls was when we were talking about Court of Owls. I was hoping they would introduce, but Matt Reeves did mention in the interviews that if there are sequels, he would want to try to get into tackling the Court of Owls because it's a very slightly modern, so like a introduction, not introduction, but addition to the Batman mythos. But Scott Snyder, like freaking out, man. He hit it out of the park with that. Court of Owls will be interesting. Definitely they are going towards 0 year where it's still, Riddler. There's no what's like what's that red mask?
Red Hood.
Red Hood, sorry. Oh, what am I saying? Red Hood. Red Hood was like in the first part of like 0 year. So yeah, we'll see. I think anything else that you want to rant or talk about before we
nothing much. I'm just hoping that in the future they have like a 13-year-old Robin, Dick Grayson.
Well, they I think Pattinson mentioned that they might he's open to having a Robin, but he got to be a teenager.
Yeah. I think it makes more sense.
It does make more sense, but it's gonna be kind of like weird. Oh, by the way, another thing that I want to mention is like the Wayne Manor is like the most gothic place ever. Way more gothic than Tim Burton's version. I was like, wow, this place is like from the 1800s.
And I'm actually surprised that in Wayne Manor there's more than one person helping out. So nice old lady.
Nice old lady.
Whatever her name is.
It was funny. There's also talk about how Reeves want to get like Mr. Freeze to be part of the one of the
villains. Yes,
that would be like interesting because not sure if you read it. Like Capullo never tackled Mr. Freeze in his run, but Sean Murphy did a great job. There was like a sort of like a graphic novella between White Knight and the Curse of the White Knight about like Freeze. That was pretty freaking good as well. So I want to see Mr. Freeze is one of my top 5, like including Joker, Riddler, Freeze, Scarecrow. Who else would I put up there? But yeah, so Freeze is up there, the pantheon of the villains. So I would love to see a non-Arnold big screen version of Mr. Freeze. Like,
I hope they follow along the. I hope they follow along the Heart of Ice storyline, where you actually explore explore Mr. Freeze and have an actual love story.
Yeah, Paul Dini did that in like the animated series, right? That's when Freeze became more than just like a one-note villain. So
yeah,
I would love to.
But I also hope they have Kite Man and Condiment King. So that'd be cool.
Kite Man.
Did I just hear the wind say Kite Man?
He's so great in the Poison Ivy series. You've been watching that?
Yeah, it's fucking good, man. Yeah.
I love that. Season 3 got to be out soon, man. I freaking love that series as well. So, yeah, once again, we're going to do the scores. You're going to give it, like, after going through all the gripes and what we love, still, what's the score?
6.5.
6.5.
Yeah, 6.5.
Yeah, I think like after talking to a fellow, a Batman fan like you, I think I'm gonna go put it down to 7.5. I was really expecting it to be better, but then again, I want to reiterate the fact that it's still a really good comic book movie, and people should definitely watch it, especially those who haven't read the comics and be spoiled like us. It will like in a way blow you away. I think it's a pretty like different take on Batman with a darker tone, yes, but it's more detective, like crime, thriller, mystery story. Cinematography was like amazing. Sound design was great, apart from some the theme that I have an issue with. But overall, yeah. And before we end, please, if you haven't been to it yet, go to ratalada.com. Oh yeah, so if you don't want to stay until the end of the credits, that was it. That you don't get anything else like a Marvel film. It was like goodbye, and then you have that for like a split second. I couldn't even remember it. I have to like Google afterwards. Like, what was that website? So it's ratalada.com. If you go there, you can actually answer some questions about the film and get some cool stuff. Have you tried though, Ewan? Have you tried like the website? Oh, dude, I got like a zip file that was like a password and all that. Pretty cool. It's a pretty cool experience. You should go check it out.
Cool. I'll share after this.
Would you watch it again though? Last question. Would you watch it again?
Not in the cinema.
Yeah, that's the 3 hours again. I was like, I'll wait for HBO Max or something like that.
Yeah, I'll just wait for it to be on stream.
All right. Thank you so much once again, Ewan, for joining us here on SupCast. And thank you guys for listening and watching SupCast on the Batman. It's in cinemas right now. Please go watch it. It does deserve to be seen on the big screen. Maybe not for twice, 2 times, but definitely for once. I'm Adam Toang, also known as Tuna for Sup Nerd. See you guys next time. Bye. Gotta say bye, man. Gotta say bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Sup, nerd.